So I recently acquired this old laptop. It was my dad's laptop from when he went to college. The model is the IBM ThinkPad 380XD. So me and my family were cleaning out my grandma's apartment, and she presented me with this laptop, and she told me that many years ago my dad had left it in her apartment. So I took the laptop home and tested it, and I found out the battery was dead, which isn't really surprising because it's been about 22 years. But I didn't have a charger for it. So I looked at the charging port, and it looked pretty standard. It looked very similar to the charger on my old ThinkPad E430, but unfortunately I could not find the charger for that laptop anymore. So I looked at a little sticker on the bottom of the laptop, and that told me that I needed a 16-volt charger, so I ordered one on eBay. When the charger got here, I plugged in the laptop and was greeted with an error screen and a strange humming noise. The error was telling me that the computer had lost track of the time. I guess I'll have to replace the CMOS battery, but Windows booted up just fine and put me on the desktop, and then of course it proceeded to blue screen. I restarted and I was able to enter Windows and open up the control panel. I looked around a bit and then decided I was going to try to figure out what that strange buzzing was, because I could tell that it wasn't the hard drive or the CPU fan. So it actually ended up being the battery, which was very concerning to say the least, because batteries are not supposed to make any sound. So I took out the battery and I've just been using the laptop on AC power, which hasn't made a difference since the laptop's battery didn't provide any charge at all. So I'll have to pick up a new battery sometime, which I'm sure won't be super easy because this battery is no longer used commonly anymore and it looks and feels like a brick. Anyway, now that I have a working laptop, I want to do something with it. First of all, I'd like to make a copy of my dad's old files from this laptop so that I can send them to him. Next, since it's from that era, you know I'm going to want to use it to play the 1993 Doom. Luckily, the steps required to complete both of these tasks are both pretty related. So first of all, I need to find a way to transfer data to and from the laptop. This one stumped me for a while. I definitely won't be able to connect it to the internet. Although this laptop does support the internet, it won't be able to connect to the modern internet. It has Internet Explorer and a wizard to connect to dial-up internet, but I have broadband and the modern network standards probably won't work anyway. Not to mention that it doesn't have SSL or modern web design technology, so even if I do connect it to the internet, I highly doubt that most websites are going to work very well, if at all. Also, I do not see an Ethernet port on this laptop, and I legitimately have no idea if it has Wi-Fi or if that was even a widespread thing back then. Since the internet is out, the next logical option is a USB flash drive, seeing as there is a USB 1.0 port on the back of the laptop. I tried my trusty 8GB Lexar USB drive, and nothing. That's not much of a surprise, seeing as there's likely no driver for this USB port. I looked online for a USB driver for this laptop, but I couldn't find a way to load the installation files onto the laptop. Then I remembered. Somewhere in my drawer, I have an old 256 megabyte flash drive. There's a small chance it might work over the 8 gigabytes one, seeing that 256 megabytes is a size that Windows 95 might be able to handle a little better. So I plugged it in, and nothing. Oh well, I didn't really expect that to work either. So thinking about ways to load a USB driver onto the laptop, I looked over to the right side of the laptop and I found a floppy drive. I have a few floppy disks on my wall, and I don't know if they work, but I figured, hey, it's worth a try. So I took them off my wall and found that one of them was mechanically damaged, so I didn't want to put that one inside the floppy drive because it could get stuck. But the other one looked like it was in pretty good condition. So I put it inside the laptop and it worked. I didn't realize floppy disks made this much noise. Anyway, I spent a few minutes playing around with the floppy disk, copying files to and from it, and it worked just fine, but I realized I had no way to access this drive from my other PCs, seeing as none of them had floppy disk readers. Also, copying my dad's old data using a floppy disk would take forever, considering he had 3 whole gigabytes of data on his laptop, and floppy disks only have 1.44 megabytes of storage capacity, meaning that would take over 2,000 data transfers, which I am not doing. So next, I turned to the CD drive. I thought to myself, this might just work. Spoiler alert, it didn't. CDs, while being an old technology, are something that I can still read to and write from on my modern PCs. I dug through all my bins of computer junk and found this, a USB CD drive reader/burner, and a couple blank CDs. Perfect. I found a mini USB, yes, mini USB, cable, and plugged it into my desktop. I tried to execute my plan for the CDs, but I ran into a couple problems. First of all, Windows has 2 different ways to format blank CDs. Option 1, you can use it like a USB flash drive and just copy files to and from it like you would on a normal flash drive, but this version does not work on computers using a version of Windows older than Windows XP. I tried it anyway and it didn't work at all in the Windows 95 computer. Option 2 would allow you to burn files to the CD like you would in the older times, which allowed it to be compatible on old computers, but it had a few limitations. I burned a USB driver to the CD and put it in the computer and it worked. However, I ran into a few more issues. The first was, my CDs were so scratched up from being in a bin with no cases for 7 years that Windows just gave me errors when I tried to copy a certain file off the CD. The other issue was, even if I did buy some new blank CDs, the CD drive on the 1995 laptop only supported reading from CDs, not writing to CDs, so I couldn't copy data off the laptop with a CD. Oh well, I thought, I'll just copy the USB drivers to my CD, then I can copy all the data off using a flash drive. Of course, that didn't end up working either. So it turns out there's two different versions of Windows 95, OSR 1 and OSR 2. So OSR 2 fixed a whole bunch of bugs from the previous version and also added USB support, which wasn't really a big thing until Windows 98, which I don't have. All of the drivers that I found only supported OSR 2 and not OSR 1, and this laptop only had OSR 1. And since this is Windows 95, you can't just, click the check for updates button and wait for the update to install. The only way to upgrade Windows 95 is to reinstall the whole thing from scratch, which I don't want to do because I'd have to format the drive to do that, and that would delete all the old files. After finding this out, I scrapped my original plan of running to my local Target, buying some blank CDs, and then using the USB driver from them. So, after I'd already tried USB, floppy disks, the internet, and CDs, there was only one other way I could think of to transfer data to and from this laptop: pulling out the hard drive. So I attempted to take the bottom cover off this laptop, but I couldn't figure it out, and then a helpful internet search revealed to me the hard drive, you don't need to take off the back cover to access the hard drive, it's just accessible from this handy dandy slot in the side of the laptop. So it comes out pretty easily, you just unscrew the screw, take off the cover, and pull out the drive. Since SATA didn't replace IDE until 2007, I guessed that this drive would likely be an IDE drive, and I was correct. However, this would prove to be a little bit of a problem, since my PC doesn't have an IDE port, I don't have any IDE cables, and none of my other PCs have IDE ports either. So I thought about this for a little while, and then I remembered, hey, I have this old PC sitting in the basement that runs Windows XP. So it wasn't in super good condition, and it didn't even have a hard drive, but I knew it used to have an IDE hard drive, and it also had two CD drives connected with IDE cables. I opened up the cover and pulled out an IDE cable that looked like it was in good condition, but I was presented with another problem. The cable didn't fit into my hard drive. The cable has a little notch in the center, and my hard drive did not have that notch. Since I knew the hard drive was my last remaining option to use this laptop, I knew I had to take drastic measures. So naturally, I took the cable out to the garage and I filed off the little notch. Unfortunately, it still didn't fit. I did some research and I found out that 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch IDE drives have slightly different connectors, unlike SATA drives where the connector is the same for either side of your drive. And also I didn't have a proper cable, so I knew I'd need to buy something. I looked online and I thought I could either buy an IDE cable that fits into the old PC but also my drive, but instead I bought an adapter that lets me connect an IDE drive via USB, so this way I can use my main PC instead of the 19-year-old one, which would likely speed up the file copying operations by a lot. Also, not to mention that the 19-year-old PC doesn't even have a hard drive, so I'd have to run Linux on it. And it's a 32-bit computer, so it's harder to get Linux to run. 1 week later, I received an Amazon package, and I was able to continue my project. I opened up the box and I found the adapter. It looks pretty low quality, but I didn't expect that much considering this was the cheapest one they had. I removed the hard drive from the laptop, plugged in the mini USB cable. Yes, it was mini USB again. I connected the drive to my computer, and it worked. I was able to make a copy of all the files, and I also made a bootable disk image in case I messed up anything on the operating system. Then I downloaded Doom and a few other retro games and I copied them onto the drive. When I removed the drive from the enclosure, the whole circuit board proceeded to fall out of the plastic enclosure. I guess you get what you pay for. Anyway, I put the drive back into the computer and I booted it into Windows. After having made a copy of my dad's files, I was able to delete a lot of them from the machine to make rooms for my retro games. And I booted up Doom and it worked. I played through the first level and everything looked just fine. I put the drive back in my PC, copied over a few games, and after that I'd say that's probably the end of this project, considering now I have games working and I've been able to copy all the files off. So you'll probably see this laptop appear again on this channel, since it's a very interesting piece of history. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you want to see this laptop appear on the channel again.